What's up, guys? My name is let me take this off. What's up? My name is Patricia. Thank you so much for tuning in today. So excited to talk to you guys today, as I usually am. We're going to talk about something that kind of like a continuation of our last video. So if you haven't checked out the last video that I posted on Thursday, then definitely refer to the and I'll leave a link also down below for you guys. Last week we talked about the 4 agreements, the third one in particular, which is don't make assumptions. Now, if you're not familiar with the 4 agreements, it is a methodology. It is a way of thinking, a way of living, actually, that I was first introduced to by the book, The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. Now, many of you guys have read this book already, and some of you guys purchased it after watching last week's video. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to leave a link for the book. I bought mine on Amazon down below. I really think it's a good read, so if you haven't read it already, you definitely should. Last week we talked about agreement number 3, which is don't make assumptions. Many of you guys enjoyed the brief summary that I gave on agreement number 2, which is don't take things personal. So that's the one that we're going to talk about today. And then I promise you we're going to stop talking about this book, but it resonated so well with a few of you guys that I really wanted to take time to talk about it more in depth. Now, if you're not familiar, this book highlights 4 agreements, 4 things that you should keep in mind while living your life. And the first one is be impeccable with your word. We have talked about that one in the video I think I entitled Watch What You Say. I'll leave that up in the cards for you guys and also down below. The second agreement is don't take things personal, and that's the one we're going to talk about today. Number 3 is don't make assumptions. That's the one we talked about last week. And the last one is always do your best. That's the one you're going to have to read the book for because I'm not going to do a video on it, okay? But that one is definitely important, and I think it's really good for the, you know what, let's not just read the book. You just have to read the book. So here it is for those of you guys who are not familiar with what it looks like. It's a very, very easy read. It took me a little while because I tend to read several books at one time. It wasn't until I finished all my other books that I was able to complete this one, but it's a very easy read, definitely, for sure. The language is very easy to read, and it's not that long of a book as well. So the second agreement starts on page 47, and that chapter is entitled Don't Take Anything Personally. So we have coffee, as we usually do, and I'm using a mug that you guys have seen before that I purchased from Target, and I have some medium roasted coffee with some almond milk vanilla creamer, which is really good. So let's go ahead and get into it. In dealing with this one, this is a really important agreement because you don't realize that you internalize. Oh guys, hold on, I have to go. I have a guest. Crap. Sorry guys. Hold on. I'll be right back. Woo. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. I had to take a quick break, but I am back. So last week when we briefly discussed the second agreement, I mentioned to you guys that you shouldn't take things personally, whether good or bad, okay? Let's start out with the bad. People will have their opinions. People will have their views. People will treat you a certain way. What you have to understand about people, and I mentioned this last week, is that people operate in their own pain, their own hurt, their own experience, according to their own character and their own personality. And honestly, that has nothing to do with you. Too many of us internalize some of this, these attacks. We internalize these words that people say about us to the point where we start agreeing with what people say. I'll give you guys an example. Growing up, now I grew up in a West Indian home, in a Caribbean home, and you know, we're brought up to have very tough skin, okay? Because anything and everything will be said of you, probably in your home, before anyone thinks to say it to you at school or on the street. That's just the way it is. And so being called things like fluffy, fat, big were things that I heard in the home through family members, and maybe not ill-intentioned, but it still was said. And at some point, I agreed with it, to the point where I started to believe those things about myself as well. And that's just an example, but this happens in many different ways, whether it's about your body, whether it's about your intelligence, whether it's about its opinion based on something that happened to you in your life, whether you had a child outside of wedlock, or whether you had, and people say things about you and you agree with them and you internalize them, you take them personally, you believe them, and then you start living them. Extremely dangerous. If you can cut it off, you know what I mean, before it even gets to you, right? If you could just repel it before it even gets to you, you won't agree with it, and it doesn't have a chance to do you any harm. For those of us who've already been affected by words that we've agreed with, we now have to be super proactive about our affirmations. And it may not have to be in a very extra spiritual way where you have to write down. That helps. Trust me, it does. And I have done it in the past. But you have to be careful what you say about yourself and what you think about yourself. Even things like, oh, I look fat in this dress. You might want to find other words to say and another way to describe how you feel about yourself in any particular art of clothing, especially if you know that's a place where you struggle in terms of self-perception. You have to get to the point where when people say something, it just is what it is. It's not truth. It's not fact, because it's something that they said. Like I said, people operate in their own biases, in their own pain, in their own opinions, based on their own experience that has absolutely nothing to do with you unless you make it about you. And that's what you do when you take things personally. The second half of it is not to take things personal that are good as well. I got a good example for this. Just a little while ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, I was on the phone with this young gentleman, and he makes a comment. He's like, you know what, you are so beautiful, right? My first response to him was not thank you, but I know, right? And now I know some of you guys think Trisha, you really, that's really doing the most, right? And of course, I said it in a very joking way, and he laughed as well. And then after that, I said, thank you. And he says to me, he's like, you know you are, don't you? And I said, yes, I know that I am. So like I said last week, using this example, I am beautiful, not because he said I was, but because I am. And that's the point that you have to get to. Yes, people can give you a compliment. And we appreciate the compliments, because you know what? That's positive energy. And yes, we need positive energy over here. However, we don't internalize it. We don't agree with it. We could say thank you, but we don't take it personal, right? Because I am what I say I am. I am what God says I am. I'm not who you say I am, right? And we have to get to that point. And it's a tough place to be, because those of us who struggle with self-esteem, we have self-esteem issues. We have self-perception, self-worth issues. We thrive, right? People like that thrive off of what other people say about them, especially if it's good. However, let me tell you, and this is not an easy place to get to, but eventually, I promise you, you'll get there, where you can appreciate the good that people say. You could say thank you, but I don't internalize it, right? I don't take it personal, because by taking it personal, I am giving that person's word power, right? It now becomes truth to me. And here's the kicker right here, and try to understand what I'm trying to say. It now becomes, when I take it personal, it now becomes truth to me because someone else said it, not because I believed it first. So yes, compliments are just fine, but don't internalize, don't take things personal. You are smart because you are. Not because they said it. You are beautiful because you are. Not because they said it. You are awesome. Not because they said it, but just because you are. We have to get to the point where we don't even take positive things personally. We could say, thank you. I agree. I got it going on. But not because you said it, or not because you think so. Because that's just the way it is. You know what I mean? I love this agreement. I love all of them. But I think this one holds a very special place in my heart because this is the one that makes me realize how far I've come in this regard. Now, the negative one, I still struggle with because sometimes I can take things personally when people do things like, how could she do that? How could she do that to me? You know that? There is where I struggle. When people say things, I don't internalize those. When people do things, it's like, how could I still struggle with that. I ain't gonna lie. But it shows through this agreement, I really see how far I've come in terms of internalizing the things that people say, whether good or bad. Here's the thing. When you track what happens in your mind, think about it, right? Or the next time someone pays you a compliment or even says something negative about you, think about what happens in your mind after those words leave their lips, right? Whatever I don't even have an example. Whatever the negative word is that they release to you, right? All of a sudden now you internalize it and your mind starts to go, like, am I really dumb? You know, well, I did fail this particular class and I really struggled with this other one, and everyone seems to be grasping these concepts easier than I do, and they must be getting A's and they must be doing well, like I must be the only one struggling. If you track what happens once those things, you realize how much of a poison internalizing and taking things personally is. And same is so for the good things, because once somebody says you're beautiful, you're like, yeah, I am beautiful, aren't I? You know, I'm not too bad. Or he thinks I'm beautiful. That makes me special. Or he thinks I'm beautiful and he's the only one who's ever said that to me. That must make him special. And he might not be, you know, he may not be that particular one that's for you. But where our judgment is clouded and our emotions are all over the place because we've decided to make words true for us. But we have to get to the point that our belief in who we are is so strong that it doesn't matter what anyone says about us. It doesn't matter what anybody does to us. It won't affect how we feel about us. It's taken me a lot of work to get here, getting to the point where I love myself inside and out. No matter how much the outside changes, no matter how much my situation changes, I appreciate who I am and know who I am. It's not easy, but if you're not there, I know you can get there. Learn not to take things personally. What people say has nothing to do with you. You build, you create your own thoughts towards you. And let me tell you what helped me too is knowing how special I was to God and beginning to see how special and valuable that I am to Him was really the first step in getting to love and appreciate who I am. Guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. And I hope something that I said was helpful. And did this resonate with you just as much as it resonated with me? Let me know, guys, how you guys feel about that down below. Thank you so much for tuning to this video. I hope you guys are well and in good spirits whenever it is that this video meets you. And I'll see you guys soon. I'll see you guys Sunday with a new video. I know this one was late, but I'm recording on a different camera because my battery on my other camera, I lost it. Quick update before I let you guys go. My sister actually got engaged this past weekend. So I recorded the whole event and I somehow misplaced my battery in moving all my equipment. And so I ordered a new one for my other camera, which is the camera I typically record my YouTube videos on. But this one's just fine. Like I said, we're still gonna get the content out there. By the time I sat down to do the video yesterday to post on the same day, because last week was so busy, I realized I didn't have a battery. So I decided, I was like, let me know, I'm just gonna wait till tomorrow and post a video tomorrow. But typically I post on Sundays and Thursdays, so I will have a video up this Thursday. Thank you so much for tuning to this one, and I'll see you guys soon.